Okay, so here's the knife all finished up, and I gotta say this build was a little frustrating since my first attempt on laying out the holes, the pivot hole was slightly off, throwing the centering of the blade off, which I really wasn't happy with. So my only solution was to create some pivot collars, and luckily Kevin was okay with that. So I created some out of the 80s Rockin' 80s camo carbon, as you see here. I created one of those, and then a black fat carbon one, just so he has some options. And here's what we ended up with. And I was able to save this material instead of basically tossing it, which I really didn't want to do. I'd say this material is pretty similar to fat carbon. It was a little bit easier to work with, which was nice. And yeah, just really happy with the result. And yeah, I could look at this stuff all day. Just awesome material from Camo Carbon. And Kevin doesn't know this yet, and I'm going to be posting this video after he receives it, so this will be a surprise for him. I ended up having just enough material to create a custom pocket clip. I was really curious to see what it would look like on this knife. But yeah, I think it's going to complement it very well. And hopefully he likes it. If not, not a big deal. The only issue with this is I don't know how it's going to hold up like fat carbon, because I do have one on my Spyderco Yojimbo. This is one I did a while back. If you guys haven't seen this video yet, I'll leave it up in the corner. You guys can check it out. But this is holding up very well. It hasn't broken or anything, so very happy about that. So I'm hoping this material is just as good and strong. Just like anything else, this does have the potential to snap if you overextend it. But the test in the shop was successful. I mean, I could really push on this and it's really not going to break unless you go extreme. But with that being said, if this does end up breaking, he does have this really nice, I believe it's Damascus. It's a gorgeous clip. There was no issue with it. Again, just had enough material to create a clip for him. And I think it's going to turn out really nice. I do have a surprise for you guys here at the end of the video. I did end up doing something interesting, but you guys will see that at the end of the video. But let's put this together and see what it looks like. So here it is all assembled, and I am very, very happy with the result. And again, that pivot collar, it was a great option instead of tossing this whole material. So I'll put just a little clip up here in the corner of the knife with the black pivot collar, so you guys can get a good look at that and see the difference. Not much of a difference, but it's there. Definitely goes with the black and titanium on the other side. But here it is with the Rockin' 80s. I think it looks really good. One of the things I really like about this material is on the edge, you can see that the light catches that weave and those colors. It's hard for the camera to pick it up, but just an awesome material all the way around. Beveled all the edges, which was pretty interesting. When working with this material, when you remove it, it all becomes one color, and it really hides what you're doing. So a lot of wiping and checking, wiping and checking. Here is the pocket clip side, which I think looks awesome. Definitely complements the Rockin' 80s since it is the same material. But again, Kevin doesn't know about this. We'll see what he thinks, and we'll see if he notices. But yeah, here, let's open it up. You guys can check it out, opened up. As always, you guys, let me know down below what you guys think of how this thing turned out. And let me know your thoughts on the pivot collar, since I was kind of forced to, on my part. That was my mistake, but I was able to save it. The action is still really good. It drop shuts. I'm always scared to close this thing. It'll get your thumb if you're not paying attention. So it is very, very smooth. Kevin requested that I make the detent just a little bit stronger, which it is. And the guillotine isn't as, I mean, it's still very, very smooth, but it's not going to slam shut on your thumb. even though it still does, but it's not as bad, if that makes any sense. So the action is really, really good. Spidey flick it. The ergos are really, really awesome on this knife. And now I understand why everybody wants it. And yeah, this is a very expensive knife, and I was very careful not to damage the blade or anything. So I wrapped it in a cloth while working on it in the shop. So I was very cautious with it. And my main goal on the custom pocket clip was to make it very comfortable. You really can't feel it. So hopefully Kevin has the same hand size as me, because that's what I based it off of. And I based it off of the original, depth-wise, or I guess how tall it is. So you can't really feel it. So really happy with that. The tension is good. I mean, it's very good. And one other thing I wanted to mention was the pivot collars. Not only did I bevel them, so that way when you're handling it, it doesn't, I wouldn't say cut you, but it feels comfortable now. One thing I wanted to mention was when installing the pivot collars, they like to go a certain way, which is weird, but I did create a little hole there as a mark. You can see it right there. I did the same thing on the other one. Basically, when installing it, that little mark, you can see it right there, needs to face the stop pin hole here. So that's just kind of a guide, and I'll let Kevin know about that. But it's really the only thing. And again, really happy with it. As always, you guys let me know down below what you guys think of how this thing turned out. Always appreciate you guys' input. And here's the surprise, if you guys waited till the end. So I was really worried that this material was scrap. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty upset. And that's my worst nightmare, is to be limited on material and then on top of that mess up on a custom knife for a customer. That always ruins my day. So I ended up doing a backup scale out of white G10. The material that I used for the test run wasn't thick enough. So what I had to do is I had to use some JB Weld to put a thinner piece of G10 under the white G10 to make it the right thickness. And this is what I ended up with. So instead of wasting that perfectly centered everything, so I used the CNC to locate all the holes, which I should have done on the first run with this one. Lesson learned. I will definitely do that next time. We have a white G10. I'm just going to call it the Star Wars edition. So basically I relieved some weight. You guys can see right here. It's my first run at doing this. The original has a bunch of it, and I didn't want to risk doing it to this one, because if I ruined it even more, I would have been really upset. But a lot of skeletonizing in here. So I did my best to lighten the G10 just a little bit. So I just put a nice bar. I guess it's lightsaber-esque. I think it was just nice to keep it simple. It's not as light as the carbon fiber, but it is a little bit lighter. Really happy with this. No pivot collar needed because the CNC nailed it, did it just right. And one thing I did forget to mention on these scales, if the stop pin hole isn't exactly where it needs to be, it gives you a world of trouble. So I actually created a little tool, and more than likely I'll do a video here in the future of how to create that tool to locate your stop pin. But really, really happy with this one. I will put this together as well, and you guys can check it out at the end of the video of what it looks like with this on. And not only that, but I also created a custom pocket clip, so it complements it. Again, I had to put the thin G10. This is what it looks like on the bottom, since I had to do my thing, create that opening. The tension isn't as strong as the carbon fiber one, but it still functions, it still works. And I mean, I don't think anybody has a Star Wars themed Evolution 2.0 out there, so I think Kevin will be the first. I will offer these up for sale to Kevin. If he doesn't want them, then I'm sure we'll figure something out. So really happy about that. And again, I really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you for watching. And as always, I will see you guys on the next one.